Hello, it's me, Black Screen. Hello. So, I'm from Nepal. Today I'm going to show you the top 10 people or leader or commanders who took part in Anglo-Nepal War from Nepal. Okay, so here it goes like this. The war was taken place in Nepal between East India Company and Nepal. There were 20,000 men with 60 cannon in East India Company side and a little more than 42,000 in Nepali side. It was in the first campaign, and in the second campaign there were 17,000 men or women in their team. And also Indian mercenaries during both campaigns were unknown. The Anglo-Nepal War was taken place between 1814 to 1816, also known as Gorkha War, was found between the Kingdom of Nepal and the East India Company as a result of border dispute and ambitious expansion of the both belligerent parties. The war ended with the signing of Treaty of Sugauli in 1816, which ceded around a third of Nepal's territory for the British. So, so today I am going to say you the top 10 people who took part in Anglo-Nepal War. The first was all known Prithvi Narayan Saha, who was from Gorkha. He was the Gorkha king. He was born in 1723 and died in 1775. He was also called in Nepal as Bada Maharaj Dhiraj Prithvi Narayan Saha, and he was the first king unified Nepal. He is credited with starting the campaign of unified Nepal, which was been divided and weakened under the Mallak Confederacy. He was ninth generation descendant of Dravya Saha, the founder of ruling house of Gorkha. Prithvinarayan Saha succeeded his father from King Narabhupal Saha to the throne of Gorkha kingdom in 1743. King Prithvinarayan Saha was ultimately able to unify these previously small principalities into one nation, Nepal. This unification was crucial as the British colonial force had already begun colonizing the small kingdom that from present-day India. King Prithvinarayan Saha was convinced that British force would eventually approach Nepal. He believed that 50 small principalities would easily be conquered by British as part of plan to colonize Nepal. Unifying Nepal made it more difficult for British force to make their move. His unification became very ambitious, especially as he was the king of a small kingdom surrounded by strong and powerful neighbors. Still, King Prithviraj Saha was able to successfully unify Nepal, which later enabled unified Nepali force to fight against British colonial force and prevent foreign colonization of Nepal. The second person who took part in Anglo-Nepal War was Kirvan Yuddha Bikram Saha. He was born in 1797 and death was in 1816, also called Kirvan Yuddha Bikram Saha. And he was also the fourth king of Nepal from 1799 to 1816. Although he was not a legitimate heir to throne, his father made him the heir for being the son of favorite wife Kantavati Devi. The Anglo-Nepal War was fought between Kingdom of Nepal and British East India Company as a result of border dispute and ambitious expansion of both belligerent parties. The war ended with the signing of Treaty of Sugauli, which ceded around a third Nepal territory to British. Most of ceded territory has been acquired by Nepal by war only last 10 to 20 years from other kingdoms that are ever part of Nepal. The British were invading force while the Nepalese maintained defensive position. The British attacked in two successive waves of invasion. It was most expensive war waged during the governorship of Lord Maura. Bhimsen Thapa. He was the third main person who was in Anglo-Nepal War. In my opinion, he was he was the Mukhtiar of Nepal. Bhimsen Thapa rose to power by initially serving as a bodyguard and personal secretary of the king Rana Bahadur Shah. Bhimsen has accompanied Rana Bahadur Shah to Banarasi after his abdication and subsequent exile in 1800. In Banarasi, Bhimsen helped Rana Bahadur engineer his return to power in 1804. In gratitude, Rana Bahadur made Bhimsen a Kaji, equivalent to the minister of a newly formed government. Rana Bahadur's assassination by his stepmother 1806 led Bhimsen to massacre 93 people, after which he was able to claim the title of Mukhtiar. This Anglo-Nepal War was the most important event during the Mukhtiari of Bhimsen Thapa, since it affected every aspect of later course of Nepal history. Considering the many successes that the Nepalese army had seen during the expansion campaign in Nepal, Bhimsen Thapa was one of the main proponents of the war with British, which was against the better advance of the like of Parakaji Amar Singh Thapa, which actually did the fighting and knew about the hardship of war. His attitude before the war is summarized in following letter of King Kirwan, when we can find a hint of superstition of Nepalese imbecility. The British. He died in 1839 and he suicide. Amar Singh Thapa, son of Bhag Bhim Thapa, got the title of Barakaji after the death of his father in the Battle of Palanchok. He should be confused with Bhimsen Thapa's father of the same name. Barakaji Amar Singh Thapa played an important role at the time of victory of the Chaubise state and expanded the western boundary up to Satlas. Parakaji Amar Singh, also known as Living Lion of Nepal, he was the Parakaji general of the Nepalese force of the Western Front in Anglo-Nepal War. He is also the national hero of Nepal and one of the most fearsome warriors of Asia. His major achievement was the attack of several western states of Nepal like Jumla, Doti, Kumaon, Garhwal, etc., as well as Palpa. He served as a Nepalese caretaker of the area until ousted by the British. He carried out a small war with the king of Punjab, Ranjit Singh. He also engaged in defending the western front of Nahan, Chamba, Almora, Kangra, Sahanapur, Dehradun against the British counterfeit General David Outelloni. Although he lost his area to British, he was praised for his bravery by both Nepalese and British personalities. He fought against many small kingdoms to make big Nepal and unite the country. Thapa also built the temple of goddess Ganga in early 19th century. Battle of Teutal. Toward the sunset of the April 15th evening, Bhakti Thapa and the army unit under him arrived at the Malawan fort from their station at the Suragars without being noticed by the British army unit scattered around the Malawan fortress. The subsequent event helped to explain that he might have come to pursue Amar Singh Thapa on the behalf of all the brave commanders prepared to sacrifice their life for the country to pursue more aggressive methods to deter the enemy from overrunning the motherland. He might have even advised him pull back from the Malawan to regroup the army unit spread all across the Garhwal and Kumaon to go to complete a new type of offensive. The following day in the morning, Bhakti Thapa at the age of 74 led the most daring counterattack against the British were interred at the Teutal. Historians have presented the description of this battle at the great length. It was 3:15 a.m. when the force had just 400 under Bhakta marched out of the Malan fort to slow but steady beat of the drum. The British column under 1,000 had taken position of the Teutal on the river slope. The cannon of the 6-pounder were properly concealed. There were two Indian battalions, the Grenadier Company of the Light Battalion and some thousand irregulars. The British strength were up to 3,500 troops and weapons. Bhakti Thapa and his followers in the counter-attack appeared to have vowed to fight to the death. Bhakti Thapa had even handed his infant grandson in the custody of Amar Singh Thapa just before going to battlefield. Bhakti Thapa laid down his life in the battlefield. Everyone who fought from the Nepalese side was either killed or wounded. The reputation. Needless to say, the British commanders were truly shaken by the bravery of Bhakti Thapa in Teutal battle. Bhakti Thapa has become the legend even in the eye of British historians. One of the historians, C.B. Khanduri, right, quoting various contemporary British historians, the euphemism of the bravest of the brave has been used by Napoleon for Marshal, whose bravery during the retreat from Moscow in 1802 was one of the highest. Brave, less brave, said Napoleon of him. The British then used this strategy for the Gorkha during and after the Anglo War. Such was bravery shown by Bhakti Thapa, and the next legend of bravest of the brave has been created on the day 16 April 1815 at Teotal. He died at the age of he died after that going to Banarasi. Bhadra Kubar is the national hero of Nepal. He is famous for his great service in the Anglo-Nepal War 1814 to 1816. He was captain of Royal Nepali Army, Gorkhali Army, gained fame as a commander of the Gorkhali force at the Battle of Nalapani outside the Dehradun. As a commander of Gorkhali force in Dehradun, Captain Balbhadra Kaur was handed the responsibility of defending the area. Expanding Nepali Gorkhali state has, since the mid-late 18th century, expanded the nation border on all sides, which eventually led to conflict with the British East India Company, and the war followed. Realizing he could not defend the town of Dehradun, Captain Balbhadra Kaur withdrew to the strategic hill fort of Khalanga with the army strength of 600 including women and children against the British East India Company British stronghold of 3000 to 3500 troops. He turned down an incentive proposal of British who would make him governor of Western Garhwal should he surrender or leave Nepal. In On 8 Kartik 8, 1871, Bikram Sambat and October 1814, British troops reached Dehradun. A battle took place between British and Nepali troops at Nalapani on Kartik 10, 1871. Sambat. The British were unsuccessful and withdrew to Dehradun. Another battle was found between two sides of Nalapani on Kartik 1871. General Gillespie, the British commander, lost his life in that battle along with Colonel allies. The siege continued for the month until the British, convinced that they could not win by military way, blocked the source of water to ford, so the Nepalese would die of thirst. For the Nepali army, it was a hard struggle fighting in a very well-equipped and trained modern army, belonging to one of the largest colonial empires of the world. The Balbhadra Kuvar had asked for reinforcement from capital, but Kathmandu could not send them, so the Nepali army had no reserve army and were an emerging power, which meant they did not have troops to match East India Company. The Nepalese army was outnumbered in Nalapani as it was every battlefield. Even though the Nepali army lacked water, they were still determined to defend their position. Because the wall had collapsed, cannonball fired by the British started reaching the interior of the fort. Many men were killed and injured. Despite losing their comrade and friend, the remaining men were still determined to defend their position. In order to drink water from the river, they came out of the fort in a single line, and the British force watched in a surprise as the Nepali troops quenched their thirst and returned to their fort. On November 1814, four of the commanders, including Captain Balbhadra Kuvar, in the night was forced to abandon the fort of Nalapani with their remaining Gorkhalis troops. On seeing the Nepalese abandoning the fort, the British attacked them. The Nepalese resisted the attack but continued to advance. They reached Dwara in the morning of on 1871 and stayed the whole day there. Balbhadra sent a courier to the British with the following message: "We had handed over to you your dead and injured soldier on your request. We now request you to hand over our injured soldier to us." The British replied that they would look after the injured soldiers themselves. Accordingly, they treated the 180 injured soldiers at the Nalapani. Ultimately, after the 4 days of the thrust, the severe loss of troops without surrendering, Captain Balbhadra Kuvar emerged from the fort with drawn kukris in his hand, along with 70 survivors, and roared to the British, "You could have never won the battle, but now I myself voluntarily abandon this fort. There is nothing inside the fort other than dead corpses of the children and the women." He and his remaining troops escaped into hill on November 30, 1814. The peace treaty was signed in December to 1815 between then King Yud Kirwan Yuddha Bikram Shah and British East India Company known as Sugauli Treaty. The British soldier poet John C. who has written during the war about the Gorkha. I never saw more steadiness or bravery exhibited in my life. Run they would not, and of that they seemed to have no fear, though their comrades were falling thick around